Over this weekend, I went to the premiere of a new documentary called The Muslims Are Coming, which was directed and produced by Negin Farsad and Dean Obeidallah. I went with Cenk and a couple of other members of the Young Turks family. Now, Cenk was actually in the documentary. He was interviewed for it. And basically, it's about a group of comedians going throughout the conservative portions of America, attempting to educate people who might not have met Muslims, don't know about Islam and all of that, trying to teach them a bit about what it is and what it is not, trying to combat some of the myths that have been put across by both the mainstream media, but particularly the conservative media in the years since 9/11. Now, I loved the documentary. I thought it was absolutely hilarious. I had no idea what to expect going in. I was just going to sort of support Cenk. And I'm interested. I like documentaries. That's the majority of what I watch on Netflix. But it was absolutely hilarious. The Muslim comedians that they have in it are great. They're able to both laugh about their own culture and also mock and parody how America and the rest of the world perceives Islam. And they brought up a number of great points about the misconceptions that Americans have about Islam. I should say, particularly conservative Americans, particularly conservative, hard right-winger Americans. So they talked about the threat of sharia law that many people are worried about people throwing around numbers of how many millions of terrorists there are and things like that. Obviously, a lack of understanding about gender distinctions in Islam and what sort of rights women have in Islam in different Muslim countries and things of that sort. And so they touched on many of these different topics in a very humorous fashion, and they interspersed it with performances from the different concerts, the different comedy shows that they put on around the country. And as I said, absolutely hilarious. Negin Farsad, who is sort of the star of it, and came up with the idea. I could totally see her being on The Daily Show after her performances there. She was funny both in the movie and at the Q&A that they held after the movie. And now, I didn't just want to come up here to say that it was great and that you should definitely look for it if it comes to your city. I also happened to notice something in the news. It was just a couple of days ago, and I thought that it was ironic that I noticed this after seeing this movie. And so the San Angelo Tea Party held a little meeting on September 11th, and they wanted to address some of the major problems that are currently pressing on America. And so they talked about the threat of sharia law, and how if you allow Muslims freedom of religion, we will inevitably have sharia law. They threw around the numbers thing, and so this one guy said, let's see, Campbell, Tea Party member Terry Campbell said, there's 1.6 billion Muslims in the world. 10% of them are radical Islamists. That means there's 160 million Muslim terrorists in the world. Which just, if you believe his math, which you should not, if there were actually 160 million Muslim terrorists, let's just give up, I think. Because there's absolutely nothing you're going to do against 160 million people willing to suicide bomb a group. But of course, that's absolutely ridiculous. Like the 10% are radical Islamists, that is a completely made-up number. But even if you accepted that number, the fact that they're radicalized does not mean that they're terrorists, so they're willing to kill themselves or others. They just have perhaps stronger views in terms of Islam and its role in the world than more moderate Muslims. You could say the same thing about pretty much every organized religion that we have. Certainly there are more radical Christians in the world, and we've talked on the Young Turks over the past week about some recent fundamentalist Christian terrorism that's gone on. And so he threw that number around. He talked about how the U.S. is currently at war with the Muslim Brotherhood, obviously not understanding what the Muslim Brotherhood is or what relation America has with it. We're in no organized war against the Muslim Brotherhood. They just see Muslim and Brotherhood, shit, it's Muslims, they're organized, that sounds scary, so we should do something about it. And so I think that this San Angelo Tea Party meeting happening on September 11th is just a perfect example of what the actors and the creators of The Muslims Are Coming are trying to fight against. This complete ignorance. And when we say ignorance, as they point out in the movie, we're not saying necessarily malicious ignorance, although the result of it is fairly malicious. It's actual ignorance. They don't know anything about Muslims or Islam. They don't know any Muslims in their day-to-day life. They have no idea about what it is. They don't know about the similarities between Islam and Christianity or Judaism or the differences. They honestly don't know. And that sort of ignorance needs to be combated. I think that The Muslims Are Coming is, as a documentary, a great way to combat some of that ignorance. And of course, on my own program, I try to do that as well. Now, of course, full disclosure, I don't believe in Islam, don't believe in Christianity, don't believe in any organized religions, and so to that extent, I'm probably not on board with the complete message, but I do think that they should be given all of the rights of any other American. I think that the demonization, the fear-mongering, the xenophobia, that has been drummed up in America after 9/11 does not do us any good, and it certainly doesn't do Muslims trying to live their day-to-day life in America any good. So, if you see that the Muslims are coming is going to be shown in wherever you live. Now, it's going to be in mostly like Boston, Seattle, like cities like that, but look it up. I'm sure it'll be in larger distribution at some point. I think that you can go to tugg.com to try to schedule a screening in your area. It's absolutely hilarious, and I wholeheartedly endorse it.